right place. That's the problem. Someone put it in the right place. That's okay, my bookmark.
We're like in the beginning, you know what I mean?
No. And after this, I'm going to check.
They have food. They have good food.
Nah.
Huh?
My sister?
Yeah.
That's not the one they got from Woodmere. The kind they got from Woodmere. Which is okay, nothing wrong with it. That's it.
We like where we want.
Yeah.
We're right. Right. You can go to. Right?
Yes. My
So it's gonna what? Ooh,
it's very small.
look, he's regulated. You need to tell me what the Seder HaYom is to be when you go also. The Rabbi's upstairs. Do you stand next to him? I don't sit next to him when I'm up here. I sit on the other side of the shul. I'm asking what I need to do.
When you have him?
Silence for answer.
Where do you want?
Sometimes
I go here, sometimes I go there. I have no sense.
How's he?
You look at the thing and bang. Really, he's doing that so.
I'm usually sitting right next to him downstairs.
Doing that. Not better.
What?
Not better.
I don't have to. I can sit in my little table, just wait for him to snack.
Yeah, he snack. He sees the salad is finished. He looks at you. Okay.
I'm gonna have a good time watching these slides.
I'm so excited.
You're excited? Why are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. I know you want to do. I know you're excited.
Once upon a time.
Okay, well, that's it. And you can see. Okay, good morning.
Alright. So it's going to talk about what you were talking about yesterday. You were saying all these twos and it's Makis and it's Shabbos and so it's going to ask, Gemara's going to ask, Nechti, let's understand what's going on here. Tama mi dakosh tolik. We're leaving Makis, right? My Shina Tani Shavuos. So why are they placing Shavuos over here? Why does that make sense that we should be this should come next? So right it says Mishinda Tani Chayev Al Rosh Shtayim. So we're talking about in Marcus. We're talking also the idea of two, that he's
Cuts his hair.
cutting the different parts of his that they're not supposed to cut on his face, on his head. He gets he's over two things, right?
Right.
What are the two things? Achas mikan, v'achas mikan. So for this side and this side, right? So assuming that he did both sides.
Yeah, you should. Both
I think it's very interesting nowadays, the haircuts you see the kids get. I even see the
on one side. Yeah. No, I'm saying right here.
you see the adults have it also. Have you seen this? That it's almost it must be the time of Mashiach, because what is the whole kunz of shaving all of this and this they leave a little bit long. So I even see people, older people, younger than me, but older than the kids, fathers. But it's not completely down. It's almost like what I would do to my whole head, but it's my whole head. Not just to here is like short, but leaving something. But here is like longer. I don't understand what is the
I don't know. I
what
just
is
see
it,
a lot of
what
the
is the
guys.
draw?
I don't know. I see a lot of the guys that shake their head. Basically, I don't understand how they do it. The favorite things a lot.
But
Yeah.
mamish. But on top, they still have. It's not like the old days when I was younger. They used to have the mohawks. That was a different. That was a whole different Indian. But
I don't know. I see some of the guys.
some of the guys do it. Like, what's the story? Don't you ever know? Rabbi gets up and talks about coffee and Shiur. He doesn't get up and talk about proper haircuts.
You have a little weekend.
What? He doesn't know. Come on. Sorry.
So this is with Asra.
That's what I'm
Don't
looking
shake
for.
your head. Don't shake your head.
What? Alright, that was the left leg from downstairs. Yeah, ma, what's up? Yeah, what's up? Nice seeing you tonight. What's going on? I was told I should come upstairs and that the president will be going tripping downstairs. Oh. I thought you were in on it. Oh, really? Why? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were not. I understand. I'm sorry you're upset with me. I don't have any. I thought this was all like arranged, and I would like just like made aware. I don't know. Are they? Is Rabbi davening Mila downstairs? I'll think about it. I'll call you. I'll call you. I'll call you back, and then you'll tell the person who's in charge. I don't know either. I'm sorry. The last thing in the world, the last thing I'd want to do is to upset him. Somebody came over to me and told me that this is what's going on. So I figured, like, why wouldn't you know? I didn't even think that. Okay, God, thanks so much. He's upset at me now.
He's very sensitive.
Why is he upset at me?
So why don't you tell him? Why?
I said to him.
Speak to Andy.
No, he said to me, everybody said that he thought he knew. So Rabbi told him, and then he went and complained to Andy about it, and he went and he complained to.
Rabbi told him what's the problem?
Because he's the last to know.
Okay, someone has to be last. I don't get it. One guy has to be last. Everybody.
Look at this.
He's very sensitive.
What he would have liked to have happened, I'm sure, is that all of them should get together, Rabbi and Andy and him. I know it's not the way it works in this place. They should all get together and they say, listen, this is what's going on upstairs. We would like to ask him if he should come upstairs because last time this happened and we didn't. He said to him, like, why don't you ask him? And they said, well, we thought you always wanted to stay downstairs. I said, no. I stay downstairs because you asked me to.
Okay.
So I watched more car. Now he's asking me, I davened mincha downstairs. I really wanted to say to him no, but I had the heart to say something because I have no reason to now. Because Rabbi's still going to daven downstairs, but I'm not blowing shofar downstairs afterwards. Unless you want to be blowing shofar up here after Yom Kippur.
No.
So.
Okay.
She's upset. He's like, I'm the last person. I told Rabbi I resigned.
He ran every week. Rabbi says he quit again.
He'll be
give me 2 weeks. Give him 2 days.
He'll be there.
When they change the.
He said to me, so I said
when they change it from 7:15 to 7.
So I said to him, well, I decided I'm down downstairs, and I'll let you know so you can let whoever is in charge.
Okay, very good.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, I had to take it because
Yeah.
I knew there had to be something. Okay. Okay, so on either side, so we were talking about the couple of sides there. Okay. The Al has HaGan, and he writes more calls. He has to. He's liable for destroying both sides, right? The beard.
The beard. Why Stein Mekan?
Stein Mekan.
Why?
The Achas Milmata.
But the beard only has one side. Why do the beards have two sides?
Each side of the face. Just like
saying Stein Mekan is Stein Mekan. We're gonna figure it out. It says later on.
One for the okay, so fine. So
it says later on. Okay.
Let's see in a second.
It says later on.
If any of the five extremities in the back. Each one each side of the face, on the jawbone, opposite the temple, and the one below the chin.
Okay. And one on the chin. Okay, fine.
Five. Okay, but okay, that's what you're saying.
And one for the ribs. You remember that.
So they're saying, both of which he gets one for each one of them, right? For each one is liable. At least two things. Therefore, the Tana continued with the same theme about teaching laws of that two are for four, just like.
Okay, so it's
Okay, fine. So Ma'ishna hacha Tani lehu ukodim. So what's the difference between our Mishnah here, where the Tana is saying that all instances of two are now four? Well, Ma'ishna Rabbi Shabbos, where I was going to like you asked, you said yesterday. So it's the same. You see that with when it comes to moving things on Shabbos, right? And the appearance of tzarats. So where the Tan does not state all of them. Here we're stating, right? So what's
we are stating. Oh, yeah. In Shabbos we also state.
Yeah, well. So why don't we have Shabbos then? So when it says Amr, they say Shavuos vidios, Atuma legabe hadere lative. The law of Shavuos and knowing about Tumah is written near one another. In the Torah, they're closer to each other. The Dami and the Adadi, the carbon oil of Yeri, and they're similar to one another. When you do something by Shogun, it requires you to do carbon oil of Yeri. So the Tanas puts them next to each other. And since the Tanas already stated two instances of two out of four, Tanakula, that he enumerates all of them. And the second question, Sach Peshuas Mufarish Dios Atumut. The Tana opens with what? Talking about Shavuos, but then he talks more about the knowing that there's Tumah, right? So why doesn't that? What does it do? The first things first. The Gemara says, "Adai tezutrin midayin." Since, right? Since the elements of Tumah are just a few, not that many of them. So Shari, the Tana states them completely. There's not that much to discuss about them, right? How they Tana Shavuos in Fishan in Fishan, and then it teaches the details and the laws of Shavuos that have much more complexities associated with them.
Interesting, because if you look at the way the Gemara is arranged, always the big masechtas are in the beginning, and the small masechtas are at the end. The Razan says that, because the big fat ones start at the beginning, that's an edge, then it goes back all the way smaller, because psychologically, when you get through it, you want to do the big ones first, get them out of the way, and then the small ones. If you start with the small ones, and then you go, oh no.
Okay.
But Rabbi is just the opposite. He's saying that first you do the small ones.
Yeah.
You
would think you would want to do the small ones. Feel like I remember when Ellie went to Israel for the first time in the summertime.
Right.
I think there's a Masechta that's like 2 pages or something. Was it?
Tell me.
I don't know. I don't know which one it was, but it's like so short. And I said, oh, he's doing. I told Rabbi he's doing. He goes, how's he doing it so fast? And I told him, oh. Because you think there is, maybe it's a different iteration, but there is a thing about, the low-hanging fruit, the things that you can accomplish quickly, so you feel like you're good about it, and you plow into the big ones. I guess there's thoughts on both sides. Shavuos, Shtayim, Shtayim, so when you're making Shavuos, there are 2, there are really 4. Shtayim, She'uchal, the Shavuot Uchal. 2 refers to a Shavua that I'm not going to eat, or I will, that I'm not going to eat. Then a 4. Right? And adds another 2. I ate, or that I did not eat. Yidiyos HaTumah, Shtayim, Shtayim Arba. And knowing the Tumah, right, are 2 that are also 4. Shtayim Yidiyos. 2 refer to his lapse in awareness of Tumah. Kodesh V'diyas Tumah. That leads to his eating things that he's not supposed to, things that are Kedusha. And then his lapse in awareness of Tumah, that it leads to going into different parts of the base of Mikdash. Shehein Arba Kodesh U'Mikdash. There are 4, adds another 2. How does it add another 2? Because his lapse in awareness that he is eating in right?
Kodesh, and if he doesn't eat, he's in the
and he's walking into a place that doesn't belong, because he's stomach. It's here Shabbos, Shtayim, Shehinava, and the Yitzia of Shabbos are 2 that are also 4. Shtayim Lotzah, Ra'ani Lotzah, the Baal HaBayis, that the 2 refers to taking out from a Rishus HaRabim, Yusuf Yachid to a Rishus HaRabim, done by somebody who is a poor person, or taking out by the house, the person who owns the house.
Right, that's what we say.
Shehin Arba, Echnasa, the Ani, Echnasa, the Baal HaBayis. Right? Also, same idea. So it's 4, 2 that are 4. It adds another 2, bringing in from the Rishus HaRabim into the Rishus HaYachid.
He's standing in Rishus HaYachid, and he's stretching out to Rishus HaRabim. And he takes something.
Right, from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. So it's a poor person. He's bringing in
whatever.
Maros Nagayim Shnaim Shehinamar, and seeing Tzaras, 2 that are really 4. Shnaim She'as Baheres. 2 refers to the spots of Se'es and Baheres. Those 2 things. Shehin Arba, Shehin Beholadata Baheres. Beholadata. The 4, you come to that by counting the Se'es, and it's all the different pieces, the subdivisions. The Harris, and it's also the things underneath it. The subdivisions of it.
So they look similar, but a little bit different. So then, it's interesting why they're not separate ones.
Yeah. Why are we looking for extra things to give?
No, it says in the Torah. It says, Obaheres.
Yeah, but you have to have the Baheres in order to, you already have the Baheres. You're already having the Tzaras, no?
So you have se'ez, which looks like the cotton, baheres, which looks like snow, whatever.
Right.
And then you have Adam Raki Bashar Sapachas, which is 4. And then se'ez, the Tolda, meaning the Toldas of se'ez, and the Tolda of baheres. So you have se'ez, se'ez and the baby se'ez, and then baheres and the baby baheres. So that comes out to 4. Shtaim, se'ez, and baheres, and their babies. Each got it to 1. But it's interesting because if they looked at one, the Torah didn't give it 2 different names.
No, it's all called the same thing.
Called the same.
It's like, it's almost like we talk about the derivative of something.
Right. I guess they look almost the same.
And you know it's coming from there,
Yeah.
but it's not part of it. It's something a little. It's
Same family.
yeah. So who's the Tana? So mine with Nisan, B'nai with Nisan, mine with Nisan. Who's the Tana of the Mishnah? Right. No Rabbi Yishmael, no Rabbi Akiva. Not either of them. Why? Yeah, Rabbi Yishmael. I think they say it's Rabbi Yishmael. So, he says you're not liable. You're not chayav on a carbon.
And something which is in the future.
Yeah.
You say, for example, I swear to you that I'm going to eat. I'm not going to eat, whatever. But if he says something in the past, I ate or didn't eat in the past.
You can. It's easily checked, right?
Yeah, he's not chayav carbon.
Go to the deal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Rabbi Akiva, and if you're going to say it's Rabbi Akiva, al ha'ela hel aleim tuma l'chaya. He says that only if it's if you're hiding. Einu chayiv al ha'ela mikdash, but you're not for going into the Beit HaMikdash.
So he remembered that he. So he remembered that he's tameh, but he didn't know that he's in the Beit HaMikdash.
Right.
So he has to bring a carbon. So, okay, so let's go back for a second. If you remember, Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva was very complicated. He actually made a chart here. He actually chart Rabbi Akiva and Shimon. So, if it's saying that the Mishnah is Rabbi Yishmael, he says that someone who swears sheker is not chayav korban ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only in the future. So it can't be. It must be that this Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yishmael, right?
It's not Rabbi Akiva either.
And he's saying Rabbi Akiva because he says HaTorah, so then what?
Because it's not chayav.
It cannot be Rabbi Akiva either.
Yes.
So who is it?
So
who's that?
Rabbi Yishmael, but maybe you can say it's Rabbi Yishmael.
Right.
See, it was Rabbi Akiva, and if you want to, maybe you can say it is Rabbi Akiva. How can we make this work? If I say Rabbi Yishmael, if I want to say it's Rabbi Yishmael, mind the Chayes Mein by explaining that when the Mishnah says Shavuos are 2 that are 4, it means that for some of them, you're liable to get that kind of carbon, and for some of them, you're not liable. You don't have to you don't have to bring, what should we call it?
So
I really have this distinction.
If he swore on the future, whatever, he's chayav carbon, and if he swears on the past, he's pater. So therefore what? So Rabbi Yishmael is saying,
sometimes he is, sometimes he's not.
Sometimes he's 2 and 2, he's saying that's what 2 and 2 is.
And you can say the same thing about, I mean, you can just figure out now, as you can say the same with Rabbi Akiva. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If you want to say the same with Rabbi Akiva, Mayan l'chayos and Mayan liftar. You can say it, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So the Gemara says, liftar. Really? Really? Can the Mishnah really mean for some and for a 4 and there's no, that you're partner? You really think that's Dimya, the Maros Nagaim Gachani. The Mishnah states that the cases alongside have to be the same, have to be similar to the case of seeing tzaras. Just as just in the case of tzaras, all four instances are mentioned for, that you're chayav for. It's an all or nothing thing. It's not like sometimes you can't just say sometimes yes, sometimes no. So just like if we're saying that it's next to the whole idea of nega tzaras, right? We can't say sometimes either it's there or it's not there.
Exactly. So we see this again, once again.
So it all has to be there. And therefore, you can't say the Mishnah follows. You can't say sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it can't be according to Rabbi Shmuel or Rabbi Akiva. So the right answer is Liel and Rabbi Shmuel. And then we can make it work for Rabbi Shmuel. How? When does Rabbi Shmuel doesn't say you're chayav for something that happened already? Carbon. That's only when it comes to giving you carbon.
No, okay. So, when the Rishon says he's not chayav the nishba shekel in the past, is only the what? He's not chayav carbon.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Aval malchus chayav v'chayav. So when it comes to getting malchus, who said?
Because it's a special thing.
Yeah. Because you're because you're saying you're swearing something false. So you can't get away with that. They did the Rabbi. And the Rabbi, that's according to Rabbi. Now Rabbi, what are they saying? The Farish Ribsa Torah Shavuos Sheker Dunya B'Shavuos Sheker. Torah says specifically or explicitly, including in giving a false Shavuot.
False and also
similar to saying something that
nonsensical.
Since the Mashav Shavar, just as the Shav Shavuot Shav pertains to something that you did in the past, so same thing. That's when you get it. So so the Gemara says okay, so you want to say that achalti is like Rabba shelo omchal v'achalnami. If he makes a shvur that I won't eat, and then he does. Is he supposed to get? He supposed to get malchus? Love sheish bo.
I remember the last time I
was
was
at the time I said it.
so long ago.
In other words, if it's when after the fact,
Sure,
he knows he's lying. But at the time that he actually says, "I'm not going to,"
but good,
he might have meant it.
Right, so when
He might have said, "It might have meant I'm not going to."
must be nothing doing over there. It must be loving it, huh?
He said I ate.
Yeah, I think
That's in the
so.
text.
It's supposed to be loving it.
That much. Did you reach out to him?
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
once
the
or
text.
twice.
Oh, I didn't eat. We didn't
I
eat.
think he's getting settled.
So
Again,
Oh, yeah.
those are things he's
In the
lying.
past.
He's lying about things that already happened.
Yeah.
So he's swearing falsely.
So he gets malchus on the past.
Yes, because he's swearing falsely. But if you're swearing about something that you're going to do,
Right.
it could be at the time that you made this shvur, you meant it.
So why were you getting malchus? He didn't do anything.
Exactly, that's what he's saying. So
But why?
we didn't do anything. But in the case of when he swears, I will eat, and he doesn't, in fact, eat, of shame, the Ramaisku.
He's over in the shul.
He's
not eating. He's not doing anything.
He didn't do anything.
He's not doing
It
anything.
doesn't require an action.
Yeah. Very cheap. You give on one, I give on one, and someone else gives on the other.
Is there another way to stack it up?
Big one?
Yeah. One from each end.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a base.
Oh,
Jay, I don't know. Got it.
thank you.
Sure.
Need two more.
You should have from Aleph till Vav. Two sides, Aleph till Vav. So Aleph Beis, Gimel Dal, He Vav. Those are the 3 pages. Let's begin. You know, there's an expression, pasuk Gilu Barada, to rejoice with trembling. So that's the feeling that I have. On the one hand, I have a unbelievable cheshek to say the brach of Shachion b'Shem Malchus. For many, many, many years, I've thought about and wanted to begin a limud to learn the Zohar HaKadosh with the Chevra. But for many years, there were tzaddikim that told me to wait a little bit more, And Baruch Hashem, that period of Golus is finished, and I was given Rishus. And there's a tremendous feeling of simcha to begin this limud, which has been a very, very major part of my life for so many years. And generally, I try to share things with the people that I love, but I do in different ways through this Zohar, but not to learn Zohar directly. Everything we learn is the Zohar HaKadosh. Everything. All this Zohar we learn is all Zohar HaKadosh. Rav Kook is Zohar, Chassidus is Zohar, it's all Zohar. But to learn the Zohar itself, we see over the past 2 or 3 years that an or has come down, that Hashem Yisrael himself is clearly giving reshus, and not only is he giving reshus, but he's urging us to learn the Zohar HaKadosh, to learn it, of course, in a healthy, proper way. And this past 2 or 3 years, all over the world, there are chavuros that started to learn the Zohar HaKadosh, which until now was something that came out unheard of. But the Sfaradim, of course, they always, but I'm saying by Ashkenazim, to learn the Zohar HaKadosh has been something that many people like myself have wanted to do that together with Chaverim and have been holding back. But the time has come. I think it's connected to the war personally. But what's opening up a chlal in Am Yisrael, what's happening, that we need the Zohar HaKadosh very, very desperately now, more than ever, as we're going to learn in a few minutes. We're going to begin to learn. So then the question was how to learn the Zohar HaKadosh. I was giving a little bit of my deliberations that I went through of, so okay, we're going to learn the Zohar HaKadosh, so should we learn it straight? Meaning from the Haggadah, to begin with the Haggadah of the Zohar HaKadosh. The Haggadah itself will take years just to learn the Haggadah of the Zohar HaKadosh. And I decided that that's a limud that would have to be really every day of the week. Maybe one day we'll have the time to come to that, to learn it in order. But instead, there's a sefer that came out, a set of 3 volumes. Each one is this size.
they're very hard to get. So my friend our Beagle was able to get a bunch of them, which I have for you, Mr. Shab, to get this Chelik Beis. I didn't get the whole set, but to get Chelik Beis, I wanted to begin with Chelik Beis. It's called Zohar HaShabbos. Zohar HaShabbos. And what the Mechaber did here, he's a astronomer, but the Mechaber did here is that he takes Shabbos from the beginning, meaning from Erev Shabbos, from Friday afternoon, the HaChanis of Shabbos, all the way through Malav Malka, including the Lamentes Malachis and all the Inyani Shabbos, and he brings the pieces from the Zohar HaKadosh that are talking about that avoda, the mikveh of Mincha Erev Shabbos, again the HaChanis Erev Shabbos. That's what we're going to be beginning with. And all the way through the Tefillas of Shabbos, all the Tefillas of Shabbos, what the Zohar HaKadosh, the pieces from the Zohar HaKadosh on Shabbos. Again, it's 3 volumes, it's well over 1,000 pages, but we're going to be learning Chelik Beis. Which when we start learning, and I'll explain why I don't go on to start Chelik Beis. And in addition to bringing the actual Lashon of the Zohar, each piece is from the Zohar HaKadosh itself is around a page or two. An excerpt from the Zohar HaKadosh, with the translation from Aramaic into Hebrew on the side. And then on the bottom, it's a likud from Kabbalah Svarim and from Chassidus Svarim. So we're going to be toiveling in Shabbos with the Zohar HaKadosh now. That's our avodah. And since we had a little bit of a taste when we started HaGan last year, a little bit of a taste when we learned a little bit about the spheres to start. But again, it was all with the hope that we'd be able to learn Zohar HaKadosh. Once I got the green light, so I felt that we could enter into the world of Rabbi Shimon, and it could also be a way of preparing for Shabbos every week. It's an unbelievable preparation for Shabbos, as you'll see. Every word of the Zohar HaKadosh is, I can't begin to talk about it. We'll just have to learn it. So that was the cheshbon, and again, I think I have enough for this chevra and for this group. And if we need more, then we'll get more. They're hard to get. In the meantime, we also put out there's a booklet on Rosh Hashanah. There's a booklet on Weinberger. She was with a similar idea, but Shabbos is over 1,000 pages on Shabbos. And that's our avodah. Mr. Shem, next week I have this from here, but I wanted to first get a sense of how many chevra here, and we're not going to begin with learning it inside. That'll be in 2 or 3 weeks. What we're going to start with, there has to be some kind of a hagdama, some kind of a entrance into the Zohar HaKadosh. It would never ever do justice. But a few years ago, there are a number of translations and works that have been done on the Zohar HaKadosh, also all part of the revolution that's taking place, not just as a sign that Mashiach is around the corner, but by way of bringing Mashiach closer. Because this limud is a limud that brings Mashiach. So, a few years ago, there was a new set of Zohar HaKadosh that's called Zohar HaKadosh, HaMaor, HaMaor. It's called Zohar HaMaor. Came out. This is already many years after the Sulam, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, you're familiar with, you've seen the Sulam. The Sulam is that tzaddik, Rav Ashlag, was a tzaddik Yisrael. He had a certain mahalach, and that's not what we're ready for right now. But to learn the pshutim shel davar, there's also been the Aish has put out already many volumes, but this edition of the Zohar HaMaor I've found to be particularly clear, and the things that are added also from many Chassidus Svarim and Kabbalah Svarim to help to make things clear. So there's a Hakdama. There's already many volumes. He put out just a few months ago the Tikkun Zohar. He also put out. It already must be 15, 16 volumes. So the limud that we're going to start with is the pages that you have in front of you is the introduction to this Zohar, this new edition of the Zohar HaKadosh, HaMaor, that came out in Tavshin Pei. Came out 5 years ago. So that's what we're going to be learning now. If any of you have this edition of the Zohar, it would be kedai to buy it. It's expensive. It's multi-volume, but it's kedai. It's more than kedai. It's very, 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 very kedai to have. But I focused out of the first few pages that we're going to do, which is only a part of the Mavo, of the introduction. The Mavo here is many pages, many pages. The Mavo itself here is something like it's more than 100 pages. Let me see. It's around 145 pages, the introduction to the Zohar HaKadosh. We're just going to learn the first 6 pages of the Mavo to get us sort of into the context of the Zohar HaKadosh. And I would give Hagdamas, but they would take me the rest of my life and to give Hagdamas to the Zohar HaKadosh. And I want that we should learn together. And we should begin to have the lashon of Rabbi Shimon in our lives and to connect to Rabbi Shimon by Yochai. So the time has come. And I'm hoping, last year, Baruch Hashem, half the Tuesdays I had simchas, and it's become very hard. I don't want to say I hope that we won't have. I don't want to say this. I hope they'll be able to have a consistent limit. It's Tuesdays are Mazel Kedei. People are looking to make simchas. So Baruch Hashem. I hope we'll be able to have a consistent limit. So l'shem yichud kudshu shchentai, we begin our limud. So what you have, the page that you have in front of you is Aleph, again from this edition of the Zohar. And we'll do some of the notes also. I hope you'll be able to read them. It's a little bit small, but I hope you'll be able to see. Schus Zocha Dairenu. It's a tremendous schus of our generation. Dor Ikvasa de Mashiach, we're the generation that's going to greet Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Shadavka bo yispashet v'yizrach orei HaKadosh shel Sefer HaZohar. The Davka now, in this last generation before Mashiach, the Zohar is no longer the sole property of small groups of Talmid Chachamim hiding in basements somewhere. That we've come to a time that the light of the Zohar HaKadosh is mispashik, it's shining, it's spreading everywhere. Yosim Mikol HaDaros HaKadim Shalfanov, more than any of the early generations, it's spreading now. HaZohar HaKadosh. Kimeduma she'en lecha Yehudi. One could say that there isn't a Jew, a Jew who's familiar with Torah mitzvahs, keeps Torah mitzvahs, shlo yachlev belibo retet shel kedusha, whose heart doesn't begin to shake, a shaking, a trembling of holiness. Askira al svasav, when he mentions on his lips as a sefer, and he says HaZohar HaKadosh. Boganus or Shabar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisheshis Meibreishis. This sefer in the Zohar HaKadosh is hidden the light of creation, of the 6 days of creation. Ein lecha, we'll see the notes in a minute. Ein lecha sefer yesod b'chachmas HaKabbalah. There is no more fundamental sefer in Chachmas HaKabbalah. Yoisem Sefer HaZohar. This is the true entrance into the garden, the Zohar HaKadosh. Aidei Omal b'Sefer HaZeh, and it's through his amelus, his toiling over the Zohar HaKadosh, Zocha HaRizal L'Asagosa HaNefla. That Arizal reached his unbelievable, unimaginable hasagis is through his limudim in the Zohar HaKadosh, his learning the Zohar HaKadosh. Mimenu sha'avu kol gedolei tzadikei hadoros. And from the Zohar HaKadosh, all of the great tzaddikim drew V'chein HaBaal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov, the Talmid of HaKadoshim, and his holy Talmidim, as darchei avodasam v'eskashvusam b'barim. The way of avodas Hashem and their eskashvus, Kodesh Baruch Hu was drawn from the Zohar HaKadosh. Al yodo zochu tzaddikim v'chasidim b'chal pinas hagolos. And through the Zohar HaKadosh, tzaddikim and chasidim, through all the places of Golos, have been zeicha lalois, malois, temirois, ba'avodas Hashem, to ascend to high and very mysterious, great levels in the avodas Hashem, lahasig as yidiyaso yisbarach, to be masig yidiyas Hashem. So the same world, the same air that the tzaddikim of the Sfardim were breathing, the tzaddikim of the Ashkenazim were breathing, and that inhaling of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and why did it take so many years until the Zohar HaKadosh itself was uncovered, and Jews began to learn b'chol mekamis pezureim, wherever Jews were, but again, very small, secretive groups. They were learning the Zohar HaKadosh. Look at footnote 1. Rabbi B'nai Soscher, the B'nai Soscher writes the following: Hine Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai Kro Botzina Kadisha. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was called by his Talmidim and by his colleagues the holy light, the holy lamp, Botzina Kadisha, the holy light. Ki al yodo nizgalu bizgalia soides HaTorah. It's because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was sent into the world to reveal the light of Torah, the hidden light of Torah. Whose side ha'or ki tov, HaGan is b'Torah. It's the secret of the or ki tov, of creation, which is hidden in the Torah. Al kei nikra sifra HaKadosh, therefore his holy sefer is called Zohar. Zohar means, of course, the radiant light, the shining light, the illumination. Or HaMafik misayfa olam v'asayfa, a light, the light that shines from one end of the world to the other. Or HaTorah HaGan is b'Torah, the Or HaTorah that is hidden in Torah. Those are the words of Bnei Soscher, where Pri Tzadik, and Reb Tzadik writes in Pri Tzadik, the Shem Zohar Nikra, that it's called Zohar, B'nei Shu Loshen Or, because Zohar is a Loshen of shining light. The Or, and the word Or, is the same gematria as the word Raz. Raz in Daraisa means secret, mystery. The Or is the gematria Raz. V'hu ha'or HaGan, and this is the hidden light. HaGan HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Torah. That Hashem hid in the Torah. We'll see more about that, Mitzvah Hashem, about the name Zohar. B'morei Naim, Parshas Tzav, and the Chernobyl of the Morei Naim writes in Parshas Tzav on the pasuk Aish al HaMizbeach tukad bay, that we have over our Kodesh downstairs. The pasuk from Parshas Tzav, that the fire burns on the Mizbeach. Aish al HaMizbeach tukad bay. So the Morei Naim writes, Ki b'tchila kaidem achet, that in the beginning, before Adam and Chava ate from the tree, haya or bezgalia, that or, that light of creation, was bezgalia, was revealed. Va'achra chet, and after the chet, ne'elam ha'or b'levusha, that or of creation was hidden and enclothed in garments. Shehulbish es or hainu, sheha'or nislabish b'seich HaTorah, it was hidden in the letters of the Torah. L'chein Omer Rabbi Shimon, the letters and the white parchment, between the letters on the words. L'chein Omer Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai v'Zohar Masha Omer Rabbi Bar Chana she'acher kam me'ah shana acher Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So one of the great questions that led some people to have sfekis whether or not Rabbi Shimon is the author of the Zohar HaKadosh. Again, there are different parts and pieces of the Zohar HaKadosh, and how it was composed. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on. But there are those who have questions. How could it be? We find that there are things that in the Zohar HaKadosh that Rabbi Shimon was saying things that we didn't see for, again, the Zohar HaKadosh was only discovered 1,000 years after the Gemara, and we didn't see for instance, there are Gemaras from Rabbi Bar Chana who lived many years after Rabbi Shimon, and it's in the Gemara from Rabbi Bar Chana, and that's many years after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So how could this be from Rabbi Shimon? It's from Rabbi Bar Chana. So of course the answer to that is Moshe Rabbeinu l'sham, Rabbi Akiva, she'acha kama alav from Shanim, Acha Moshe Rabbeinu, all of a sudden the Gemara tells us in Menachos that Moshe Rabbeinu was sitting in and listening to a Shiur that was being given by Rabbi Akiva. Right? And said Moshe Rabbeinu had a chalish adas, didn't know where this was from, and so on. So how could all this be? It doesn't work out chronologically. So Shulmach Mishal Yidei Terasa. Of course, there was Torah's Moshe, and there was Torah's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was hundreds of years before Rabbi Bar Chana. And Moshe Rabbeinu was many, many years before Rabbi Akiva. But Rabbi Akiva was uncovering the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, because all that Moshe Rabbeinu had to say was not made known to us. And the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, while he was alive, was not openly revealed. We have many Gemaras from Rabbi Shimon, but the light of the Zohar HaKadosh was not revealed openly, but it was taught. Again, as we're going to learn, it was taught and handed down in a very, very discreet way, so that the Or of Rabbi Shimon was in the world, and the Torah of Rabbi Shimon was in the world, just like the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu was already in the world many years before Rabbi Akiva. The Torah of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in the world many years before the Amaroi, before Rabbi Bar Chana. The Or was there, the light was there, the haskalos of that Or was already in the world. Some of it was already mamish known, befeirush, to certain tzaddikim who had learned it, and there were others who were able, when the time came, to tap into that light that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revealed. So the fact that we find that Rabbi Bar Chana is saying things in the Gemara many, many years after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it's not found from Rabbi Shimon in the Gemara. And where was this Torah? The answer is that it was in the world from Rabbi Shimon, either Bizgalia or Bizkasi, either revealed or concealed. Just like Torah's Moshe is still being unpacked to this day. We're opening up Torah's Moshe. We're trying to understand Torah's Moshe, and every single thing that we learn is Torah's Moshe. Zichur Torah's Moshe Avdi. Every single thing that we learn, and the same way that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he heard, when the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Akiva cited as the source of what he was saying, that's Allah Moshe Misinai, and Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know that. So, as all the Mefarshim explain, that means that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know that his labshus of that Or in those letters of Torah. There was the Or of Moshe Rabbeinu, how it was mislabish, and the oisius of Rabbi Akiva. That's the oisius of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Bar Chana had the Or. It was the Or of Rabbi Shimon. Again, whatever that means, that Or of Rabbi Shimon, and the later generations were malbish that Or in different ways, in different oisius, and so on. That's the Morinayim is explaining. Shumach mishal yedei Torasam boel or HaGanas. Through studying the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva was able to access the hidden light of creation of the Torah, and through studying Torah's Moshe and all the Torah of the Tanaim and so on, they were able to come to the Or HaGanas of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And there's no issue here of the calendar of what's earlier and what's later. It's the Or HaGanas from the time of creation. Moshe Rabbeinu is in Torah's Moshe, there's the Or HaGanas. In the Torah of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there's the Or HaGanas. And we're going to see how it was handed down to his Talmidim, until eventually it came to be part of Am Yisrael's Yerusha, which is only what we have. Is not the entire Zohar HaKadosh. There's much, much more that we don't have. But this is what we have. But again, even the Zohar HaKadosh that we don't physically have, there's no question that it's had an immense influence. Even the Zohar that's still hidden, that we don't have, has influenced the Torah of the Tzaddikim throughout the generations. That through their tzidkas, they're able to come into contact with that Or without necessarily having the paper, without having the physical books in front of them. We're not going to spend time the whole way that the Zohar HaKadosh was discovered and where it was discovered and how it was discovered, that's a fascinating thing. That's a whole parsha on its own. Shamin chilik ben miyad ben ladoros shumokum shesham shove have umah she'asel liyos hayv umah she'asel shesham shove hayv umah she'asel liyos. In that place of the HaGan is the present and the future and the past. It's all one Indian. It's all one sugya. Past, present, future. It's all one sugya. So there's no issue here of dating. How could it be? Where was this until Rabbi Babachana? Where was this until Abayi and Rava to Rabbi? Where was all of this? So it's not a kasha. Footnote 3 on the bottom. Rabbi b'sefer Imri Pinchas, the Pinchas Karitza. After Rabbi Pinchas Karitza spoke about the greatness of the Zohar HaKadosh, he wrote the following: we have to be thankful and give thanks to Hashem that we were created during these years, and the Sefer Zohar was already revealed. We have to be grateful that we live at a time, and we have to be grateful that we're living at a time that we're able to learn this, because our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers, unless there were, whatever, among those few tzaddikim, our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers were not learning the Zohar HaKadosh. My father would hear that I'm living a Zohar HaKadosh together in shul. He'd say, "What's the matter with you? What are you doing? And you're not allowed to do that." And we have to give Shabbat Vayday. Pinchas Karitza was thankful that he was living at a time that the Zohar HaKadosh was already out in the world. And we have to be grateful on top of that we're living at a time where not only is the Zohar HaKadosh out there someplace, in some basement somewhere, in the Yemen or in Morocco or in Poland or somewhere, but we're actually able to sit here and to learn it on our Madrega and to try to understand it together. We have to give Shabbat Vayday Hashem Yisbarach. He says, "Yeshlitan Shabbat Vayday Hashem Yisbarach Shebara Yisana B'Shanim Shesefer Zohar Yeshna Ba'olam Lo B'Shanim Shelo Hayim Motzu Sefer Zohar Ba'olam." That we have to be grateful that we were created at this time, that we were born at this time, that we have the Sefer Zohar, not before the Sefer was revealed. Kazara Heviani, Rabbi Pinchas Karitza said, Kazar Heviani L'Chaya Olam Haba, because the Zohar HaKadosh is my ticket, is my way of getting to the next world, to Olam Haba. Page base, the other side. Achein Tchilas Zrichasa Shel Sefer Zohar Ba'olam, the beginning of the shining of the light of the Zohar HaKadosh in the world. Ha'isel Lefnei Karv La'Alpayim Shana. It's almost 2,000 years ago. It's around approximately 2,000 years ago. Aidei Tana HaKadosh Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai B'Charerev Talmidav. Through Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his Chavraya, his Talmidim. Shenizgal Sa'aleim Nishmas Moshe Rabbeinu, the Raya Mehemna, Olav Shalom, that the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu was revealed to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's all a hemshech of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Torah Moshe, of Har Sinai. And the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu, of the Raya Mehemna, was revealed to Rabbi Shimon and to the Talmidim. They also learned from Eliyahu Hanavi. Nishmas Rav Hamnuna Saba, we'll talk more about Rav Hamnuna Saba. They also were learning from the neshama of Rav Hamnuna Saba. Nishmas Shaar tzaddikim, and the neshamas of other tzaddikim who came from the other world to reveal these secrets to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his Talmidim. And there are also places in the Zohar where Rabbi Shimon and the tzaddikim were communicating with malachim, with angels. The shorashei ha'esher spheres, and the shorashei, the shoroshim of the 10 spheres themselves. His galu aleim ba'orech seichel, was revealed to them ba'orech seichel, which means aidei slabshus b'sichlam. They didn't hear voices; the spheres weren't talking, but the spheres themselves were somehow mislabesh, were enclosed in their minds, in the minds of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the Chavrayim. Shekol elu kiblu rishus min hashamayim, because Moshe Rabbeinu and Eliyahu Hanavi and those other tzaddikim and the malachim were given rishus from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lavo ulegalus l'Rashbi v'chaver, to reveal to Rabbi Shimon and to his Chavrayim, to the Chaverim, Rosen Tamirim, hidden secrets. Shal nitna rishus legaloisam b'shum dar acher. And rishus had never been given. Again, this or was there in the world, and there were tzaddikim that we're talking about. We're talking about these Torahs, part of them, some of them. But there was never a generation where, until that time of Rabbi Shimon, where permission was given to those tzaddikim like Moshe and Elionavi to reveal, to come to the world to reveal these secrets, and for the tzaddikim themselves to make these secrets known to others. Ad Dor Shel HaMashiach, and there was never a generation since then. Davka, that generation of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that Rishus was given, and since then, of course, all the tzaddikim are trying to understand, to decipher and to understand, especially the Ari HaKodesh, the HaKodesh, the HaGan, the Ramchal, the Rashash, and so on, to understand. They also experience different Giluim and so on. We can talk about that at a different time. To understand, that, including Rabbi Shimon himself, who would sometimes come, to help understand. But until Mashiach, there's never going to be such a thing again, where Rishus was given so openly to tzaddikim to come down from the other world, and malachim and so on to reveal these Torahs. Ula Mishash and Nistalik Rashbi. However, from the time that Rabbi Shimon died, Halcha v'nignaza chachmazu. From the time after Rabbi Shimon died, the chachma, the Zohar became more and more concealed, more hidden. And it became the possession of only individuals in each generation, small groups of individuals in each generation. And even from those smaller groups, it became more concealed, more and more hidden. Until the time the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted him, and it was almost gone. It came out, wasn't to be found or to be learned. Until Kadosh Baruch Hu decided that the time had come. L'zakas is Yisrael. V'chazra ateres chachma zul Yisrael, and this chachma was returned to us. It was almost completely gone, and is a return to us. Ke'elef shana la'achem mikain, approximately 1,000 years after Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Hayidei Rabbi Moshe Dilion, Shemotza es Sefer HaZohar U'Pirsumo, through the tzaddik the Makubal Rabbi Moshe Dilion, who found the Sefer HaZohar. Again, that whole story, I'm sure that's nowadays you could just Google, and but it's in the HaGan here also, but I don't want to spend time on that. It's a whole 2-page footnote a little bit later about how it was found. Shemotza Sefer HaZohar U'Pirsumo, and he began to publicize the Zohar HaKadosh. Look at footnote 4, back on page Bays. Kosev b'Sefer Rav Pa'olim. The Ben Ish Chai writes in Rav Pa'olim, was just his yahrzeit on Shabbos. The Ben Ish Chai writes in his Tshuvas Rav Pa'olim. The Ben Ish Chai in Rav Pa'olim has Tshuvas and Halacha. He was a huge posek, and he has Tshuvas and Halacha, and he also has Sayyid Yisharim. He has Tshuvas and Kabbalah in him too. So he writes there in Rav Pa'olim, Yadua shesefer hazoyer v'atikunim v'kol shekein idv rabbi v'idvazuta hem dvarim amukim ma'id ma'id. It's known that the Zohar HaKadosh, and especially those parts of the Zohar HaKadosh, the rabbi v'idvazuta, are very, very deep. V'nichtevu b'chachma nefla, and they were written with tremendous chachma, v'neira, awesome chachma, asher v'dibur echad, and in one word is rotzuf dvarim harbe. Much is contained in one word, every word of the Zohar. V'akol nemer behelim gadol ma'od, and it was all taught in a very concealed way. So even though you could read the words and you could translate the words, that doesn't mean that you understand what they mean. Although there are many places in the Zohar where it's written in the lashon of nigla, but it's all filled with deep secrets. U'kamoisha kozva saba kadisha parashas mishpatim daf kuf. That section is called saba kadisha. Brei de Yochai, where it says over there, Brei de Yochai, that Ben Yochai Yoda listamra archoi. He says that Bar Yochai knew how to guard his ways. He knew how to keep a secret. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai knew how to give over a Torah, but in such a way that he still kept it guarded. He said certain words, but all the words are guarded. Kosovo Zer Rabbeinu, Reb Chaim Vital. Reb Chaim Vital writes, B'Shar Mamori Rashbi, B'Shem Rabbeinu HaArizal. So Rabbi Chaim Vital writes in the name of the Arizal, HaKavana. What does this mean that Rabbi Shimon knew how to guard his ways, to protect, to conceal? What does that mean? HaKavana ki nishmois HaTzadikim yesh shehem mitzad b'chinosam yesh lehem koach l'daber ben historis v'sodas HaTorah derech kisui v'helam gadol. There are some tzaddikim who have the ability that when they teach, even though you can understand it on one level, there are many, many layers of levels, and they are able to hide the different lower, the deeper levels. Kodesh lo yuvnu ela l'misha roy lahavinam. So that only those who are worthy and are on the madrega of understanding them will understand it on that level, and the others will be able to understand it on a different level, but not on the ultimate, deepest level. Rashbi alav shalom ha'isa nishmasam b'chinazu. Rabbi Shimon Yochai had such a neshama that he had the ability to do this. He had the ability to enclose, to cover, to conceal. In such a way that even though people will speak about them openly and publicly, and the words can be translated and can be understood, but only those who are worthy of understanding them will understand them. Therefore, since Rabbi Shimon had this unique ability, there were others that had this, but Rabbi Shimon was great at this, and he was given, therefore, permission to be the one to be the author of the Zohar HaKadosh. And permission was not given to his Rabbeim. Rabbi Kiva was one of his Rabbeim, and for sure Rabbi Kiva was even greater than Rabbi Shimon, but that was not Rabbi Kiva's Inyan. The earlier ones knew even more of this Chachma than Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Rabbi Kiva and the ones who were before, the Nevi'im, and those who were before Rabbi Shimon, there were those who knew more than Rabbi Shimon and understood more. But the Ben Ish Chai explains about Tam, but nobody was as great in this koach that he had this unique koach, which obviously Hashem gave him because the time had come. That he had this koach lahalbish hadvarim kamo, to dress the words up, to enclose them in such a way. I mean, since Moshe Rabbeinu. V'zemash kasav asaba in the Zohar Mishpatim. Yoda, he brings the piece of the Zohar HaKadosh, Yoda l'stamra archai. That is the meaning of Rabbi Shimon. He knew how to guard the ways. He knew how to guard. Even though the path is open, but it's still guarded. Because Rabbi Shimon knew how to teach in such a way where despite the fact that the words were now open, the deeper meanings were still kept secret. Godel Helem Sefer Zohar HaShabbos Rashbi alav shalom she'en kol moicha yuchal havin dvar. And therefore we understand that not every mind is capable of comprehending, of understanding the depths of the Zohar. But the good news is that the Zohar HaKadosh can be learned on different levels. The same way we learn Torah Moshe on different levels, the Zohar HaKadosh can be learned on our level as well, which is what we're going to be trying to do. It can be learned on multiple levels. We'll start from note 7. Okay, let's try. Maisa, that's brought down. Maisa of the of what happened to the Zohar after Rabbi Shimon died. I'll say for Zohar should be a Dana. So he writes in the Kesem Paz, Hayos ha'emes ha'chibur zamlukat mileket shichu peya ha'chibur ha'gol ha'rishon. This chibur, meaning the Zohar that we have in our hands, the Zohar that we now have, is really leket shikchen peya, some glimmerings of the original Zohar. It's only some. Leket shikchen peya of the original Zohar, asher shamanu shayamasa arboim gemalim, which we have a tradition that there was so much of the Zohar that the papers, it took 40 camels to carry the, which probably a good couple of truckloads of papers. Abarim Gemalim. Ubavanasenu Sharabu of the Nuhu. But we're not worthy of having the entire Zohar. Much of the Zohar, the vast majority of the Zohar has been lost over the years. It'll be, Mishra with Mashiach, it's going to all be revealed, but in the meantime, we only have this, which just keeps us busy. The Svarim Rabbim Kamei, Safra de Chanoich, like we know that there's mentioned in the Kabbalah Svarim, and the Zohar HaKadosh also, that Chanoch, from the beginning of time, that there was a Sefer of Chanoch, Safra de Shlomo, there's a Sefer of Shlomo Melech. All these were parts of the original Zohar. Safra de Rahamnuna Saba. Yosim Hemizolosam Rabbim and Nechmodim. There are many other Svarim that the original Zohar was composed of. It's made of different Svarim that went back from the time to the time of Bereshis. And of course, this was lost. So much of this was lost because of all the tzaras of Golus now schlepping from one place to the other. Zaya Sibush and Ismatu Lavavas, the Tachinim Shlachroinim, Nireis, me Haskel Yiboisam Biswarim Haim, Ashlo Hayin Tachim Rosh Hashanah Rosh Hashanah. Even though that there were places where they had piles of copies of these papers, but because of the difficulties of Golus and what happened to us, that they simply no longer felt capable or worthy of learning these things, and they were left and they were neglected. They thought that they saw this chacham as something which was chasam, which means sealed. It's just sealed. It's not for regular people. That maybe there'll be some tzaddik, maybe Mashiach will come soon, and he's going to teach us from these books. These were not books; these were papers, piles and piles of papers, handwritten papers. We'll say, some people maybe had some of these papers, and they were sitting someplace in their houses. They kept them. They became over the years. They were rotting. And rain fell on them, and the gold is schlepping. They didn't take them. The sofa tombo min balos never lost. But if not for Hashem's kindness, Bahashia Rishonam Achrayim Bracha. B'neim Komat Achtayim Nosam B'libam Losu Levakish Lulkat Anishim Hasvar Mahem. Yes, I played Anisha that there were some tzaddikim that did whatever they could to try to gather together to preserve some of these papers. Zohar HaShabbos, a little bit here, a little bit there. Yitzbroi Sami Pem Mipeh, and Mipo from one place to another, or from by mouth to mouth. Yichabu Inyan Alinyan Kfi Misas Yidayim. They put together to try to put together, like we have the Zohar HaKadosh and the order of Parashiyos. This was not originally the order of Parashiyos. It was put together to be able to fit the different Parashiyos. But that was an Asa Chibur Nimsa Leno Ayom. So until we have what we call now the Zohar HaKadosh. Therefore, sometimes when you learn the Zohar, you don't see how does this piece connect to the one that I just learned before it, because it's not so pashut how they were. It's not the original way that it was written or that it was taught. So there are pieces. So sometimes that piece, the way that it was put in a place that we don't understand how it fits into the rest of the Hamshach, what the Zohar is talking about. Sometimes you'll begin a piece of the Zohar and then all of a sudden it just ends without the ending. And then it could be many, many, many pages or hundreds of pages later that it'll continue. That Indian will continue. Yeah. His Sefer Zohar should be a Dana Melukan Mikama Mamar Mefuzar Mechibur Echad Gadol should never man was lost. Machas Gadol because of Gadol. Therefore, we can't always understand the connection between the one mimer and the next mimer. The beauty of what we're going to be learning in Zohar HaShabbos is that he made a seder out of Shabbos and Yonim from all over the Zohar HaKadosh. We're going to be learning. The Chidar writes in Shem Gedolim, Shekosav Ha'arav Yashar, that's Mekandia, the Sefer Mitzvah V'Chochma, Chavez Kosav Deshomi Pi Magidei Emes, that he heard from, he writes there in the Sefer that he heard from Magidei Emes, the Vishnash Shin Pei, Shekishabozu Asfardim, when the Spanish came to the city of Hildeberg, Lochu Meha Academy, they took from the academy, Kamar Lo from Svarim B'Nem, Sifrei Kodesh, Al Klav, that there were some, he had a Kabbalah that during different expulsions and sorrows in Europe, Sephardic countries and European countries, that there were things there were papers and sefers. From the sefers I'll call Esrim Va'arba. On all 24 books of Tanakh, there was a Sefer Kodesh. Masa Sabal, which means a very, very tremendous package. They were sent over to all kinds of people. So there were books on the Zohar of the Zohar that they had in all 24 books of Tanakh. What we have is only a little bit of the Chibur. Continuing on the next page, the Sefer Shas Kabbalah, Kosa v'Kibalti al Peh, Shazar Chibur Hayakol Kol Gadol HaKomus Shem Hayanimsa Kulu Yachad Hayamasas Gam. Also, that there was much more of the Zohar Kodesh that we don't have than the Zohar Kodesh that we have. So we'll continue with this little bit of an introduction next week. We'll be talking about the Asgalos of the Zohar Kodesh, why it was revealed after at the end of time. That's what we'll continue. And I'll give you this farm.
Hold on to these, or you want?
Yeah.
Are we going to continue with this?
We're going to continue with this, so
So I'll
maybe
hold on
some
to
other
that.
people. So